The shovel hit the soft earth with a thud. In the moonlight, 3 men dug faster, sweat dripping from their faces. They didn't know that 20 years later, the tiny baby they were burying would return as the most powerful woman. Lagos, 1999. The rains had just stopped. A baby girl's cry pierced the night, but it wasn't a cry of life. It was a plea. Deep in the forest behind the remote outskirts of Oberland village, a young couple, terrified of shame, did the unthinkable. The wife had birthed a girl, her third. And in their culture, twisted by old superstition, a third daughter was believed to bring misfortune. So, they buried her alive beneath a newly planted banana tree. They walked away without looking back, not knowing that fate had different plans. Hours later, an old herbalist named Baba Kure, on his usual night walk to gather moon herbs, stopped mid-step. Something tugged at his spirit. He knelt by the banana tree and heard it, a muffled whimper from beneath the soil. With trembling hands, he dug. And there, swaddled in clay and blood, was life. A baby. Still breathing. Baba Kure and his wife Mama Sua were childless, but their hearts were vast. They named the baby Abani. We asked for her, and she came. They raised her in their small thatched hut with love deeper than oceans. While other girls were taught to shrink, Abani was taught to speak. When others were told to obey, she was told to question. By the age of 5, she was reciting proverbs with the elders. At 10, she could identify any root, bark, or leaf for healing. At 15, she began teaching younger children in the village under a mango tree. Abani's beauty bloomed like wild hibiscus, dark-skinned, radiant, with eyes like storm clouds hiding lightning. But inside her heart, there was always a quiet echo. A missing piece. A dream that came often, of dirt, darkness, and choking silence. One market day, a Lagos businessman passed through their village. His child had a sickness no hospital could cure. Desperate, he turned to Baba Kure and Abani. 3 days later, the boy was healed. The businessman, grateful beyond words, offered Abani a scholarship to a school in Lagos. "It is your time," Baba Kure said, handing her a small pouch of cowries for protection. "Your roots are here, but your branches must reach the sky." In Lagos, Abani faced a new world, fast cars, high-rise buildings, and people who laughed at her village accent. But Abani didn't shrink. She soared. She aced every subject. She graduated with honors in business and social reform. She became the youngest executive at a women-led microfinance startup. Within 5 years, she had launched her own company, Ona Life Ventures, dedicated to uplifting rural women through education and financial freedom. She never forgot the smell of clay. Or the sound of her own buried cry. 25 years after the night of her burial, Abani returned to the same village. Not as a girl, but as a queen. She stepped out of a sleek black car in gold lace, surrounded by a team of aides. Her company was acquiring farmland across Lagos and converting it into schools, libraries, and wellness centers. And the largest piece of land? Belonged to an old, crumbling estate, owned by the very couple who had once buried her. Chief Adewale and his wife Lady Folashade had long since fallen from grace. Their oil business had collapsed, and their sons had squandered the family wealth. Now in their 60s, they were desperate to sell their land to survive. When they walked into Abani's office, they had no idea who she was. "We're just humble people now," Chief Adewale said, bowing. "Our family made mistakes. But this land is all we have left." Abani stared at them. Her hands trembled under the table. They didn't recognize the face that had once been covered in dirt. That had once gasped for breath beneath their shame. That night, Abani returned alone to the spot under the banana tree, now old and twisted. She wept. Not out of pain, but out of release. The next morning, she made a decision. She summoned the couple again, but this time, to the village. In front of the entire community, she told her story. The room went silent. Chief Adewale's lips quivered. Lady Folashade collapsed in tears. "It can't be," she whispered. "You died. We buried you." "I lived," Abani said. "Because love found me. Because you tried to end my story, but it was only the beginning." The village elders wept. The women held hands. Children watched in awe. "I will still buy the land," Abani said gently, "but not to punish you. I will turn it into a sanctuary for girls, those you would have buried, and those like me who rose." Months later, the estate became the Ebony Center for Daughters, a place where abandoned girls were fed, educated, loved. Ebony didn't need revenge. Her life was the victory. Chief Adewale and his wife, racked with guilt, became volunteers at the center, cooking, cleaning, and silently atoning. Every morning, they watched the girl they once discarded guide a new generation with the strength of 10,000 mothers. And though Ebony never called them father or mother, she treated them with dignity. Not for their sake, but for her own healing. Epilogue: She who was buried, grew roots. Years later, at an International Women's Summit in South Africa, Ebony was awarded the Daughters of Destiny Global Award. She took the stage in royal Ankara robes, her voice calm as the sea. "I was buried the day I was born," she said to the crowd. "But like a seed, I grew. Not because of blood, but because of love. Let the world know, no child should ever be thrown away. For every girl denied, there is a queen waiting to rise." The crowd roared. Cameras flashed. But Ebony didn't smile for them. She smiled for the girl once buried beneath a banana tree. She smiled, for herself.